So can what looks like a glorified toaster oven actually replace many of your kitchen appliances, including your actual oven? Well, I spent about 3 months with the June oven on my kitchen counter trying to find out. Hey, how's it going? This is Owen, I am a CNET.com, and in today's video, we're gonna talk about my pretty long experience using the June oven. This thing is extremely feature rich, and I've been able to test out pretty much everything this thing can do. The first thing I wanna talk about is just unboxing this thing and how big it is. Because if it's not gonna fit on your countertop, then you're probably not gonna be interested in it. Now it says team lift, but I ignored that because I'm a big, strong boy. Fancy box. This looks like more accessories. Set it down and pull it out of the box. There we go, there we go. We got it, we got it. Yeah, this is actually a bit smaller than I thought it would be. It's kind of meant to be like a freestanding thing just in your kitchen. I think you probably could like replace your oven with it if you put in some work. But part of the appeal is that it just kind of sits there. You don't really need to do anything. Ooh, we should get a close-up of this, because this is the money shot right here. So when I unboxed this thing, I thought it was pretty heavy just in the box, but that was due in large part to the big cast iron slab that is one of the accessories. Oh yeah, that's heavy. That's cast iron. A cast iron griddle, and then the bottom part is where pizzas are supposed to go. But for all the things this oven can do, the dimensions are actually pretty small in my opinion. It actually fit right into the spot where my old toaster oven used to be in my kitchen. The dimensions are about 19 inches deep, 19 inches long, and about 12 inches tall, so I think it should work for the vast majority of people's kitchens. And obviously aesthetics are a subjective thing, but I actually really like just the look of this thing. It looks really sleek without looking super explicitly high-tech, like maybe gaming stuff, how that looks. It doesn't look anything like that, and I just really like how it looks in my kitchen. Probably the most aesthetically pleasing feature is the touchscreen, which is how you control the oven, and it is constantly displaying the date and time. And it's pretty much always up to date. If you have a power surge, it'll automatically re-update the time and date because it's connected to your phone. So when I first set this thing up in my kitchen, I had to download the mobile app and connect it to Wi-Fi, which I thought was kind of weird for an oven. I've never had any high-tech piece of equipment in my kitchen like this, but once you get used to all the features, it's actually kind of hard to go back. This thing will actually send notifications to your phone for a lot of different categories. You can set which ones you want and which ones you don't want. You can get a notification on your phone for when the oven is finished preheating, when it is almost finished with cooking, and when it's finished with cooking, which I think is pretty cool. I actually have a Garmin watch that's connected to my phone, and so I could be outside working while I'm cooking something, and I get a nice little notification when my food is almost ready to go. The mobile app itself I found to be highly functional. You can pretty much control all of the functions of your oven from the phone. However, I didn't really find myself using the app all that much. One kind of cool thing about the app is you can actually get a live video feed from the camera that's in the oven. We'll talk more about the camera here in a little bit. I didn't wind up using the app all that much, mostly because in order to actually use the oven, you have to put your food in there first, so I found it easier just to put my food in and then do everything on the touchscreen. The app does have a pretty deep library of recipes that use the June oven if you're interested. I didn't really find myself using these recipes though. So when I got the June oven set up, the first thing I did was make some toast. Really ambitious, I know, but since this was replacing my toaster oven, I wanted to make sure that it could at least do that. And it was actually kind of amazing. You put in the slice of bread into the oven and the camera inside automatically detects that you want to toast some bread. It gave me the option to pick from white bread or wheat bread. You select which one you put in there and you select your level of doneness. And I selected medium, and then it runs a toasting program. I've never actually felt that making toast was ever this precise. If you were using this thing and you selected medium and you found that it was too light or too dark, it is extremely easy to adjust the program to your liking with just a couple simple taps of the touchscreen. And so Toast is just one of the dozens and dozens of programs that the June Oven has built into its software. It's got a frozen hash brown program, it's got fresh roasted potatoes program, it also has a baked potato program, it has turkey burgers, beef burgers, Impossible Burgers, Beyond Burgers. It has so many things that it's actually easier to list the things that it doesn't have because I couldn't really find anything. In fact, the tofu program built into the June Oven pretty much entirely changed the way that I cook it at home, and the tofu I cook at home, at least to my taste buds, is better than I've had at any restaurant. And one of the absolute best parts about using the preloaded programs in the June Oven is that the preheating process is already factored in. So instead of having to set your oven temperature, wait for it to preheat, and then put your food in, you can just put your food in and run the program. Now, I will say these programs aren't always perfect. In fact, the fried egg program, when I used it, I set it to the hard setting and it didn't cook it quite long enough to my liking. Of course, that is a personal preference thing, but it's extremely easy to adjust the timings of these programs like I mentioned earlier. You can even create custom ones, but in my entire time using this, I didn't find the need to make a custom one because the ones built in work really well most of the time. With all that being said, the favorite program that I've used with the June Oven is the fried egg one. It comes with a really nice egg pan that cooks the eggs perfectly. So I actually found through a bit of experimentation with the fried egg program, you can make probably the easiest and most delicious breakfast, which I'll show you right now. Hash browns. Fried egg. Continue. Start cooking. Aha, so only 20 minutes of cook time for what is essentially a more homemade and healthier version of a McDonald's McMuffin. Extremely quick, extremely low effort, and extremely tasty. This thing will also cook meat extremely easily and very precisely. In the side of the oven is actually a port for a thermometer, and so you just put the thermometer in your meat, put it in the oven, plug it in, and then it'll run the program to reach that perfect temperature that is recommended by the FDA for food safety. So it is extremely difficult to undercook or overcook your meat in the June Oven thanks to that thermometer. I haven't cooked a ton of meat in this thing. I'm not a huge meat eater, but the times I did, it worked absolutely perfectly. It just takes pretty much all the guesswork about when your meat is actually done. So it has programs for pretty much every single type of meat you'd possibly want to cook in this thing. And that's just talking about the programs. Even without the programs, this thing is still super highly functional. It preheats extremely fast. You're looking at about 8 to 10 minutes to get up to 400 degrees, which is incredibly fast in comparison to my standard old gas oven. It's got so many different functions. It has the baking and broiling function, of course, which is pretty much standard on any oven you'll possibly buy, but it also roasts, it slow cooks, it air fries. You can prove dough in there, you can dehydrate fruits and vegetables, and you can even make a pizza with that cast iron pan that I mentioned earlier. I've used pretty much all of these features in my 3 months with the June Oven, and it seems to perform all of them extremely well. The proofing feature is actually really awesome because most bakeries actually have like a special proving drawer that's set at the right temperature, and obviously I don't have one of those, but the June Oven basically works as one. And I've just noticed that my food just cooks more quickly, more evenly, and more thoroughly in the June Oven in comparison to my regular oven. And I think this has a lot to do with just how precise the temperature gets in this thing. A lot of people forget that with older ovens, it just has like a thermostat in there and it gets up to that temperature and then it tries to cool it down and find a nice balance. and sometimes your oven temperature isn't actually all that accurate. But in the June oven, it's gonna be accurate every single time. If you have a newer oven, then it's probably not gonna be that big of a difference, but again, mine is pretty old. I've actually only used my regular oven once in the 3 months that I have had the June oven. And the only reason I did that was because I was trying to cook 2 pizzas at once, and there's just not enough capacity for that in there. So that's the only single time that I've used it over the June. In terms of its overall capacity, it fits a shocking amount, much more than my old toaster oven. Although if you are cooking for a larger family, it might not have quite enough space to your liking. You might have to cook in multiple batches, which is probably not something you want to do. There are only 2 real frustrations that I've had with the June oven, and one of them is extremely specific. So specific, I wasn't sure it was worth mentioning, but it's a problem I've been dealing with, so I figured I should. So I live in an older house, and for some reason, a lot of the electrical stuff in the kitchen is on one circuit. So if I'm running our window AC unit in the summer and trying to cook with the June oven at the same time, I pretty much always pop a breaker. So again, very specific to me and my house, but if you live in an older house, that might be something that you should keep in mind. This thing draws a lot of power. The only other thing, and I think this will frustrate a lot of people if you decide to purchase the June oven, is the design of the door. So there's 2 panels of glass with space in between, and I found it extremely easy to get crumbs or other debris between the glass panes. And there's really no easy way to clean it once stuff gets in there. I actually spent a lot of time at home trying to clean this thing to get it camera ready before we shot this video, and it's still not as clean as I would have liked. So cleaning it can be kind of frustrating, especially that inner glass thing. I don't know why they designed it like that. I think it's for heat dissipation or something. It would be really nice if they come out with a future model where you can easily pop that glass door off so you can really give it a nice clean. As of right now, there's no real effective way to do it. So with all that being said, that leaves us with the question, should you think about getting the June oven? And I think that's actually a pretty difficult question to answer. I've obviously been singing this thing's praises this whole time. I personally love this thing, but the price point is gonna be really tough to work around. The base model of the June oven, which does not feature all of the high-end accessories, you're looking at about 900 bucks. For the premium model that features every bell and whistle that you can possibly get for the June oven, it's gonna cost about 1,300 bucks, which is obviously quite expensive and puts it in the same price range as newer oven ranges. And one thing that does frustrate me about the difference between the base model and the premium model is that it's not just the accessories you're getting with the premium model. The premium model actually features more programs than the base model, and as far as I can tell, they're exactly the same. The programs are just kind of locked behind software that you have to pay more to get access to. I really don't like that as a business model. I understand they have to, make as much money as they can with these things, because I imagine this thing is not cheap to make. I think you are able to upgrade the software later on if you purchase the base model and decide that you want to get more of the features, but I don't really see a reason why, if you're gonna get this thing, to not just get the premium one right off the bat. I think the June oven would be an incredible option for a renter. If you're renting, I can't really see a scenario where you would upgrade the oven in your apartment that you don't actually own. I've rented quite a few apartments in my day, and none of the ovens that I've ever used in an apartment have actually been any good. And I think that this one will likely be better than most. But if you own your living space, you own your apartment, condo, house, whatever, I would probably just spend that $1,300 on a really nice range that lives in your kitchen. For that amount of money, you can get something really, really nice that will probably do as well as the June oven and have more capacity. And you might not need that much capacity, so if you live in a smaller space, you live by yourself, and you don't really feel like upgrading your range, then maybe the June oven makes a lot of sense for you. Again, I think it's awesome. I love this thing, but it's just so expensive. I think it's really only gonna work for some specific kinds of people. But let us know what you think down below in the comments. What are your thoughts on the June oven? Would you get one? Let us know. And if you have any additional questions, put them down there in the comments as well. We'll do our best to answer them. We should have a lot of stuff in the description, more info about the June oven, a written review if you are more of a reader instead of a watcher. But that's pretty much all I've got for this video. If you found it helpful or interesting, make sure you give it a thumbs up and you subscribe to the channel. For CNET Home, this is Owen, and I'll see you in the next one.